Hello, welcome back to another LEGO building video. Today we are back with the fifth and final part to our United Forces Battleship, finally. And so at the end of the video we'll have some nice renders with the figures we've made for it and everything, so I'm really excited for everybody to see that. And just a quick note before we get started, I am changing my video schedule. I'll be doing 3 videos a week instead of 4. Mostly because it was great for a month, the month that it lasted, but I discovered that it just wasn't feasible to keep up with 4 videos a week in the situation I'm in right now with my life. So, and I'd rather focus on quality over quantity and everything, and I found I was getting really, I just didn't want to record anything ever, and I would like to want to do it because I feel like it looks a lot better that way, and it shows in the results. But anyway, so I'm doing that, and yeah, and it kind of, the reason I was doing 4 videos a week is because I have a lot of builds I want to do, and I'm excited to get to, and I just wanted to get there already, but I think 3 is so much more manageable, and it's kind of insane how much the difference is, but also really doesn't delay how soon I'll be getting to those builds that I'm excited for. So yeah, it's good all around, no reason not to. So anyway, just to let you know. But for right now in this video, we are just continuing our work on the top deck. Just finished up the railing and the flooring and the exhausts that we were working on, and we're doing the little elevated part of this deck right now, and this is just where the command bridge sits. So yeah, we're just getting that all lined up, getting the size correct and everything, trying to line everything up with these boards, and unfortunately it doesn't always line up exactly how I want to with the boards because I'm trying to get them to all line up in the same way so they're all the same size. But with sections like this, that doesn't always happen, which kind of bugs me, but is really, like usual, not a big deal at all. So yeah, we finished the deck section, and we're just going to build the little bridge part now. I'm sorry for the sniffling. I don't know what's going on with my nose. It's been fine all day until I started recording this. Now it wants to be an issue. Yeah, so we're just filling that in. We had some command pieces in there, like some consoles and everything in the roof section. Yeah, it starts looking all nice. It was kind of hard to figure out what to do with this roof section right here because there's not really a piece that would handle that curve. But I think what I ended up doing is a little different than what we have now, but it works well enough. Yeah, I think this is it. And I just did some cheese slopes on the side, and that's about as best as I could do. It's not perfect, but it melds together pretty well with the rest of it. Yeah, and we're just gonna add the consoles, like I said, in here. Just little tiny. It kind of, you'd think it would look weird since we are putting actual minifigures on this build. You would think it would look weird with having all these consoles and everything in different scales, and it does a little bit, but really not that much. I was a little concerned with it, but once I actually put everything in on all the figures on it, I really didn't think it messed with the final look that much. And the minifigures definitely improve the build. So, overall, definitely want the minifigures in there. And I'm pretty sure we don't actually start on the roof section of what we're building right now, but we're going to just add the pillar in so we can know how to space everything. There's these little roof sections on top that I really wasn't looking forward to building, so we'll get to them later. Yeah, but for now, just putting the support in so we know where it goes, and adding these little, I honestly don't know what these are, just little windowed sections. I'm assuming you could do command stuff from, and everything like that. So yeah, that's about what we're doing. I don't know why my nose is being so weird. It was seriously fine all day. Didn't give me any issue, and as soon as I hit the record button, just started running. Oh, such is life. It always works that way. Yeah, so I'm just kind of messing around with the heights of this section and everything, because what I had measured out at first was way too short, so I'm just adding a little more height to it, making the windows a little taller. And I'm just using black pieces for the windows, mostly because that fits with the curve right there, and it looks, it represents windows. There's not really a lot of detail going on there in the reference material. And I'm pretty sure we will mess with, they're not colored gold yet, but the little supports on the side will end up being gold. And I'm pretty sure we're going to mess with them for a little while before I figure out what I want to do in the end. But I like where it ends up, so it's worth the messing around. Just kind of experimenting with different styles. Actually, that's pretty similar to what I end up with. Maybe we don't mess with it as much as I thought. Maybe I messed with it more on my own. That's probably what I'm thinking about. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is basically what I ended up doing. And I wasn't able to really get it to go around the curve section like it does in the source material. There's 2 more supports and they are on 45-degree angles. And that just wouldn't work. I'm sorry. It could technically work, but it wouldn't look good. And I want it to look good. So I just went with that. So we're pretty much finished there. I colored them gold, I guess off screen, and added a little more detail, but now we're building this little boiler. I guess I'd say more, not really boiler, more steam engine in the middle of it. That kind of seems to be the engine for the entire thing and kind of runs everything. So yeah, it was a little bit difficult to get the roundness of it just in this size, while also still being able to attach everything that I wanted. But I think what I end up doing is basically turning the top section 45 degrees and then using that to attach the things that I wanted to attach, because there's 3 little tubes that attach to this at the top, and they're 2 on one side towards the front and 1 in the back, so I wanted to make sure I could get that accurate with all the angles and everything, so that was the best option. Yeah, we're just going to try to figure out a way. It'll be in a minute, I think. Yeah, no, right here. Try to figure out a way to turn that, and oh, yeah, it wasn't so bad. Just some pieces right there giving us trouble with this corner, because they really get in the way. But yeah, just cover that up. It's pretty easy, nothing too special. The main difficulty is just making sure this all lines up and is still attached at the end of the day. But I really like all this detail right here. I waited till last to do it because I was kind of, especially this part, dreading the rounded section and everything, but I really like the detail it adds to the build, and it contributes a lot to the overall look. So I really like how it turned out, and the detail in this section is never really seen very closely, especially in the reference material, because it is kind of closed off from everything, and also in a section of the ship that doesn't see a lot of action, so we don't have a lot of reason to see it in the series. But definitely having it there contributes a lot to the overall look. Yeah. So as you can see, we're just attaching the things on the side I was telling you about. Yeah, so we have the 2 little protrusions or whatever on the back right here, and then on the front we'll attach some tubes, and we'll figure out a way to put one in the very back as well. And the tubes were a little bit of a pain to attach, as you'll see, because LDD doesn't really like flexible parts. And I've never really used flexible parts in LDD, basically until now. And they're a pain to work with sometimes in this program. But we eventually get there, yeah, because I'm trying to use the short one right now, and that does technically work, but LDD doesn't like it. So we end up having to go with the longer one, and I kind of adjusted it later, before I did the renders in the 3D program I was using. So, yeah. These tubes are really a pain. Yeah, because this one just looks too long, so I'm trying the shorter ones, but the shorter one does work and just literally didn't want to attach at all for any reason. Or I mean for no reason. It just wouldn't even recognize that there was a part there to go to. Because the way that the flex tubing kind of works in LDD is that it will, when you move like your cursor near a part, it will try its best to attach to that part in the best way that it can. But for some reason that function just wasn't working with that particular piece. It was so weird. So yeah, we just use these long ones. I cut out a lot of the messing with it because I went on for quite a while. But yeah, just the longer one for now. It looks a little weird, but we'll fix it before the renders, which is what's important. I'm trying to mirror it the best I can on this side. Really doesn't matter much. Yeah, see, I'm having so much trouble even here. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how closely it's mirrored, because I end up just literally mirroring it in the 3D program when I fixed it. So yeah, and then we're building this little, I guess, spoiler or whatever. If you can't tell, I'm not super versed in how steam engines work. I know the basics, but I don't know what any of these parts really would be. I can just guess. But that doesn't matter as long as I can build them. But this just goes back behind it and kind of fits underneath, in between these supports and right in front of the extra supports we add for the roof section in the back, which is why we have to shorten it right here so we can fit those in. And yeah, it's really not seeing that much, but just having it there does provide some nice detail. And then, yeah, we'll attach the other tube just straight in the back right here to the top of that little piece of machinery. And I think, I'm trying to think of what else we have to do. Oh yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll add a little more detail to the main deck, but the rest of it will mostly just be, if I'm recalling correctly, it will mostly just be the roof section and the supports on the top, which probably doesn't mean anything to you right now, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Yeah, I cut out attaching that tube because it was also being super difficult. And we're just going to add a little piping right here using a macaroni piece, which is a nice little bit of detail. We'll add a little bit more detail just around the build in just the form of just some grill tiles here and there in places where I don't know what they're representing necessarily, but it's there in the source material. So whatever it is, I use some grill tiles to represent it, which we will add right now. Or start adding. Oh no, never mind. I didn't use grills. I just used regular tiles. But either way, you get the idea. Yeah, I'm very happy with how the build turned out, as you see. I'm very happy that it's done. Because whenever you finish a big build like this, it is kind of very nice to not only appreciate it, because it is super fun to just appreciate that it's done, but also just you don't have to worry about it anymore, which is always super nice. And whenever I do big builds like this, I definitely have to take a little while off from bigger builds and just focus on some small ones because they're a bit less stressful. And it's more that there's less going on and there's less to worry about. Yeah, so we're adding these supports I was mentioning, and I'll end up coloring them dark tan, which is actually I think works really nice with the rest of the model, because I don't think there's really any other dark tan, maybe somewhere, but for the most part this is it, and I think it adds a nice little bit of texture to the build, gives it more depth. And it works really well with the rest of the colors. And I think in the source material, this is definitely closer to dark gray. But like I said, the dark tan really works well with everything else, and dark gray just looked way too boring. So that's why I went with that. Yeah, we're just putting the section up top and lining it up. And then we'll be adding some ladders to this back section, just so people can get up to the top deck. I'm assuming in the front they just climb up through ladders on the interior. Yeah, but for back here, we'll add some outside that people can see, and just do our best there. I think I end up making them black. And I think that works pretty well. It stands out. It makes more sense when these were dark gray, like I was planning originally, for them to be black, because it stands out a lot more. But I still think it looks perfectly fine with the final result. You know, we're going to put a hole in the deck right here, so the ladder can just keep going up and go through the hole. And like you saw, we're adding the gold supports back here as well, and getting those in there. Yeah, and you can see I just used the clips to add a little bit more detail to that. Not a lot, but a little bit more is always nice. Yeah, so adding this hole is always so much messier when you have to go back and like edit things that you've already finished, because there's so much other stuff in the way. And you know, with like a physical build, usually you take it all apart and it's a mess anyway. But at least like it's all out of your way. Whereas here, it's a lot more convenient in some ways, but also it's a bit more of a pain in others, because just everything's in your way. And you kind of have to keep track yourself of everything and where it's going and how you can fix it. And mostly how you can keep everything supported and stable, because you never really know if it's actually stable until you build it physically. And that's not something I will be doing for a little bit, so I kind of just have to best guess sort of thing. And actually didn't notice it. Maybe my computer was just being weird when I was editing these. But when I was editing, I noticed once we got to like a really high part count, there was this weird like grainy film effect on the footage. And if it's there, I apologize. If it's not, I guess I know that for the future. But so what I did is just put this little subsection in its own LDD file, and I'm editing it there, which is also kind of nice because it's a lot less laggy in LDD, which makes it a little bit less frustrating to do everything. Not that the lag in LDD really is that bad at this point. It's more just it's kind of a tiny bit there, and even just that can be so frustrating. A lot more frustrating. I didn't even realize why like that was frustrating me at first, but when I move over to this section, it was so much nicer. Yeah, I used to have this issue with LDD where it would, for some reason, like save a ton of empty groups. If you're aware of that feature, you can just save like parts to groups and keep them all grouped together so you can select them. But it would save like hundreds of empty groups to certain files. I don't know if it was a glitch or something, and I don't know if they fixed it, but it was a while before I even realized what was going on. But it made opening the files take probably like 5 to 10 minutes every time. And it made saving them, saving them could often give you an error and corrupt the file, which was never fun. And yeah, it was just a total pain to deal with. And I I think I ended up like Googling it after months of having that problem and finding out the issue. But it was like, at that point, there were a few like bigger builds that I was working on that I had been posting pictures of and keeping people updated with that I just wasn't able to even keep going because I couldn't open the file. And as well, I could open the file and I could edit it, but when I tried to save it, it would just corrupt. Like, it wouldn't save any of my change, it would just crash the program. So there was no point even trying. So I had quite a few of those, like one or two of those bigger projects going on. So I was so happy when I figured out the problem. Luckily, I haven't had that issue anymore. I don't think so. Maybe they fixed it. I would hope so. But you never know with LDD, since it's not really being supported anymore. And at that point, I think they were just really adding new parts, not necessarily doing a lot of bug fixes. Yeah, anyway, we finished that little roof section with the gold, and we're adding this crow's nest and the rest of this little antenna tower. And so in a physical build, I would have added strings to all of this, and by just like sandwiching them between plates and everything. And I ended up doing that in the 3D modeling program I was using, just like a bunch of super thin tubes to represent the string. And it ends up looking super nice. But just so you know, like, in a physical build, I felt comfortable doing that and not feel like I was cheating, because I would, like, just put string in there. And I just used it in places where I knew that would be a possibility. So yeah, there is the final render with all the minifigures and everything. I think it looks super nice. I like the colors on it. There's the front with Cora and some United Forces people and the dragons and everything. There's the middle and the top deck with General Iroh sitting up there. You can see all the details, which are super nice. Just the back area. You didn't see me build the little supports for the boats, but I like the boats there. They look nice too. And just a final orthographic view of the side and the front. And yeah, you can see the strings I used there and everything. I think it all looks so nice. I'm very happy with it. I hope you enjoyed the series. I hope you liked the final build. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more in the future, and have an amazing day.